everyone. My name is Meg Kruger. I'm the content specialist with Pioneer Athletics, and I am bringing you another coaches / field manager / athletic director panel discussion here to see, two jobs that are naturally at odds with one another, but they also have to be completely compatible in order for both jobs to go off successfully. So I have two gentlemen here joining me. I'm going to give them the opportunity to introduce themselves, and then we'll get started.
Hi, my name is Todd Wallace. I'm the athletic director and head football coach here at Quinlan Ford High School. This is my 32nd year of coaching. I've been a head coach AD for 22 years. I've been in a smaller school district, which I think gives you a better perspective of field maintenance. And so, yeah, that's about it.
Tommy, you take it away.
Okay, I didn't see the green light.
You go for it.
Hello, I'm Tommy Underwood. I've been in school business probably 17 years, 5 years at a smaller school district, and then here at Quinlan for 12. I'm the executive director of facilities, over all sorts of faucets, maintenance, grounds, custodial, and athletic field. So.
And I think you both just touched on a great point, is that even though you might be at a smaller school district, that's when the job really gets tough, because you have to wear a lot of different hats, fill a lot of different roles, and hopefully get an appreciation for what your coworkers and other people are up against, because you see it right there.
It's absolutely. Different. You wear a lot of different hats. That's true.
Yep. Well, the hat you're wearing right now is particularly nice. I like that one.
Thank you, man.
So like I mentioned in the intro, at the base level, AD, coach, and field manager, those positions may seem naturally at odds with one another. There's a coach that wants to get as many drills in as possible. There's an athletic director that has a strict schedule he wants to keep. And then there's the field manager who wants to make sure everything is safe and playable and aesthetically pleasing at the end of the day. But that means it's even more important to have that trust and communication between those roles. And in your experience, how important have you found that to be in both of your roles to really have that communication?
When I saw that question on your list, Meg, I really didn't know where it was going with that, because I never thought about the two positions being at odds with each other. And I guess coming from a small school district where I had to do all the field maintenance, and then Tommy I like him being, very detail oriented. I didn't want to use a negative term on that, but very detail oriented. I want him to be that. But the flip side of it is our practice facilities aren't at our game field, so we don't really utilize those. And so he can do his thing, and and it looks good on Friday night, and everybody's happy. So
yeah, and we, me and Coach Wallace, we, I guess we've worked together 10, 11 years now, and we've developed a relationship where we communicate weekly and stuff like that, but. Like he said, we don't have practices on our field because we're natural grass. And, we try to keep that for our games on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, So, we've got a good system worked out, and we communicate quite often.
Well, and it sounds like a lot of those initial obstacles are already taken care of, in the sense that you said you never even have seen the jobs being at odds with one another, because it sounds like you both have a little bit of appreciation for what the other person is up against. And that's definitely the first obstacle, is just being able to put yourself in the other person's shoes. And the additional benefit of people aren't having to run drills on the field that you have to get ready for game day. So that's definitely a pro right there.
We had one junior high drill coordinator, but other than that, we hadn't had any issues.
Yeah. And then I had to go talk to Coach Wallace about that. No.
Well, and that brings up a great point. Even, we can laugh about it now, but what do those tough conversations look like? If there's something that's not working on the field, or, there's a scheduling conflict or what have you, a community conflict, how are you guys really navigating those, tougher conversations?
Well, I think, first of all, we do have a grass field, so we have a fairly strict policy about who uses it and doesn't use it. And we're both completely on board with that. So, it's really just a mutual deal. If Tommy sees someone on it and he don't know anything about it, he calls me and I do the same. And then we're both in agreement. We didn't give either one of them approval. So we have to, then I usually get to make the call and then say, hey, can't use the game field, but I think it's just, being philosophically on the same page, really.
Absolutely.
Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
I just want to, reinforce what he is saying. I mean, we're proud of the field. I mean, the community's proud of the field, and it's a grass field. It's not the artificial turf field. So we're gonna make sure we do everything we can to make it look good for Friday night lights and all that stuff. So.
And that's the best in the biz. That's what we love to do. That green grass and those white lines for sure.
Absolutely.
And so it sounds like you guys, have practices put in place, and it looks like you have a good program. Tell me a little bit about the logistics. Like, how often are you guys touching base with one another in season, and then out of season? Are you setting aside time throughout the year to kind of do planning that, takes each other's roles into account?
Yeah, well, I think, we made it sound like we're at a big school district, and we're really not. We're at a 4A, a mid-sized 4A. So, we touch base as far as email nearly daily. But then, usually Tommy will stop by at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, and, have a cup of coffee, and we'll just kind of go over, what our plans are, what we need to do, what projects we need to fix, and then, like now, even though we're in football, we're planning for baseball, and on the baseball field and stuff going. So, I think it's just having that open communication and being able to work together with, and having common goals on it,
Exactly.
Tommy obviously disagrees, but no.
No, and anytime we have any kind of major deal that we're going to do on the field, like one year we redid the irrigation where we ran it east and west, or north and south. I keep Todd informed of anything that we're looking at doing, and make sure he's good with everything. And we put in a sub irrigation system where it helps keep the field drained and everything. So we communicate, like he said, regularly. So we know what's going on with our athletics.
So this is a curveball question. I didn't send this one to you guys ahead of time, so I'm good for that. But a whole another element of this is turf grass is a science. There's a lot that goes into it. And Todd, you mentioned that being at a smaller district, you get to see a lot of it and even work on it in some sense. But who's, educating the user groups about the science about it? They don't need to know everything about it, but just them getting an understanding and an appreciation for what Tommy has to do. Who really, does anybody, take kind of the charge in educating the players or the coaches at the district so that they could also understand, why certain things are done the way that they are?
No, that's a good point. And that's a good question, because if you ask me, I would say the average coach nowadays, they've grown up on turf fields, they've played on turf fields, people have taken care of turf fields for them. And I don't think they have a very good appreciation of it, to be honest with you. Like this is invariable because we have turf. We actually have an indoor over here at the high school that we practice at. And so we had a coach this year, been coaching 15 years. First day of practice, he's spitting on the turf. And I about went ballistic. I'm like, where do you think that goes? That don't sink into the ground, And so, but educating people on stuff like that, and, I didn't want to say that Tommy was anal retentive, but, he's attention to detail oriented, but I am too. And so I think that's why we get along real well, because we really try to keep, since I've been here with our turf, just in our indoor, we have a guy come and clean and disinfect it 4 times a year in a normal turf maintenance program. But I think the average coach thinks that once you get turf, it's there, which is not the case. And they certainly don't know how to do a natural grass system of fertilization and, whatever you need to do, pest control. I think they're or even marking the field. If our coaches had to go mark the field, they wouldn't know where to start, half of them. So I think that's a great question. But to answer your question is no one's educating them, that's my opinion, so.
True. It's almost, like we're probably one of the 4A schools that still has natural grass fields. Correct me if I'm wrong, Todd.
Getting slim.
It is, I don't know where I was going with this.
Well, there's an art to it for sure. And,
absolutely.
Very much so.
Absolutely.
And it's really hard to convey to somebody that, has had a lawn maybe and just thinks it's, someone's getting on a mower once a week and you guys are good to go. But it's like, there really is so many things that go into it, and combating those misconceptions is a full-time job in itself.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like at the previous school I was at, I could never get them to figure out that we had to have a mower exclusively for the grass field. They would want to take the good mower and mow the rest of the grounds, and so that was always an issue that we were always fighting, but it's, I guess the biggest compliment I can pay to Tommy is, and I had one last week, a coach emailed me out of the blue, didn't know where he was from, and asked about our grass and how we got our grass like that. Because I'll have coaches all the time turn on film and then they'll email me and say, did y'all get turf? And I'm like, no, not turf. Okay. And so I always tell people we're the SEC of Hunt County. So,
oh, yeah.
So nice little feather in both your caps for sure.
No. Now in that regard, not, because I really don't. And I appreciate it with all my heart because I've had to do all that, but I don't do anything with the field. Tommy does all that exclusively, so. Well, that's his baby.
I appreciate that, but we've got a great grounds crew that they've taken pride in it. They've noted they get their compliments from visitors when they come to our field and stuff, and they've taken pride in that field. And Coach, we wouldn't have been able to get to where we're at if we didn't work towards the same goal about keeping people off of it. That that's for game fields and stuff like that. So. It's a combination of everybody working towards the same goal.
Definitely. And that can be a challenge in itself to get everyone on the same page. But when you have, two people leading the charge that are so, that are so simpatico, it could definitely set you guys up.
Simpatico?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it's a made up word, but I'm rolling with it.
No, it's from a bad teacher.
Okay.
Simpatico. Yeah.
Simpatico. So like you guys said, you've been in the game for a while and been working with each other for at least the last 11 to 10 years. But what does that look like? What advice could you give for someone who comes in day one, or their relationship has taken a bad turn and they want to turn it back around? What is your advice from the coach's perspective and the athletic director's perspective for what they can do, or, what appreciation they can gain for the field manager?
Yeah, well, the first thing I would say is and I say this in all regards about work. Every coach should have to go to a small school district and work for 2 years to learn how to really work. But if you've never had that, I think you should educate yourself on what all that takes as best as possible. Before you start making, you never want to talk without having some idea of what you're talking about. So if I didn't have any experience in that, I would try to educate myself, first of all, on what all goes into that. But then, and I would certainly defer. And, I have a rule. My number one rule is less is more. So if I didn't know what I was talking about, I wouldn't question Tommy a lot. He probably thinks I question him too much. But, I do have some experience in it, so we work together on it. But if I didn't have that experience, I would try to learn a little bit. And then I would certainly, though, the biggest thing is communication in anything, and asking advice and, what I think we need to do, because in the end, your goal is to have a great field that not only does it look good. I mean, we always talk about how great it looks, but it also protects the kids. If your turf is really good and your grass is really good, that's a safety measure for the kids as well. So.
And that's something that everyone can buy into. Is at the end of the day, we want these kids to have a safe and playable field so that they can come back next week and do the same thing over again.
Absolutely.
But Tommy, to pose the same question to you, but from the field manager's perspective, what advice would you give for someone on day one? They come into a new job, they've got to meet all these different coaches, they have to take care of all these different elements. What is something that they can do to get on the right foot of the communication front with these other people?
I would say you got to learn from everybody that you can. I'm constantly, I watch your podcast, try, learn a little bit here and there. Just continue to try to learn. I don't know it all. I'm always trying to learn something, but you gotta love this industry. And my wife says that football field's my girlfriend, because I mean, I'll be up there mowing it after football games on Friday night, getting it ready for Saturday's kiddie ball games and stuff. So, it's just got to be something that you're passionate about, and work hard to be the best at it.
And that has to be number one for a field manager. You have to have passion for it, because it's not an easy gig that you can just come in and do a 9 to 5 clock in, clock out operation. Exactly. And, I think that's some advice for people is like, if you're failing on the communication front, maybe just trying to convey how much passion you have for it and the why behind the passion, and it really being, safe and playable for the user groups. Who's not going to buy into that idea, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I think, you both touched on some great points. Is there anything else that you'd want to leave us with that I didn't touch on?
I would have to say that, we've enjoyed the support of our school board, letting us and our administration and coaches and working together to achieve a goal of, safety, and a best field that we can possibly have here in Texas. So, it's a team effort that everybody's come together to do work with, and it's been successful for us. I've enjoyed working with Coach Wallace, even though we don't agree all the time, but but he has a wealth of knowledge as well. So.
Yeah, and I would like to just piggyback on what Tommy said there, because keeping up a field and keeping up all your grounds it's not cheap, and so you have to have that support financially and be willing to let people have the time to work those fields, because it is time consuming. I know you have to do after hours and all that kind of stuff too, but he's got to have his crews working, a good segment of the day as well. And so if you're pulling people every which direction, so if you don't, it's like anything else. If you don't have the administrative and support, you're not going to be successful at it, no matter how much you want to succeed. You've got to be on that backing, and you all got to be on the same team for what you want to accomplish.
Exactly.
And that's just the fact of the matter with this industry. For field managers, their roles are evolving so much because a lot of that responsibility is falling on them to communicate to administration and superintendents and in the money, the money people,
sure.
like, this is why we need these things. And it's a whole nother repertoire that they have to come up with, and pulling data points and really getting, information that supports their case so that it becomes a no-brainer for the people that are, paying the bills.
People see the end product, but they don't see all the time that goes on behind it. They got nice grass, like it just happens. That's why I always tell coaches, when you come in on Monday, whatever you did on the weekend, it didn't just happen. Someone had to come up here and do it, so same thing's true on field. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Well, thank you both so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And I think people will get a lot from this and your wealth of knowledge. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
of course. And give Justin my best if you guys see him soon.
All right, we'll do.
You guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.